Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, Irina, we are speaking together. I'm safe in France. You live in Ukraine. How do you say? We say Kiev in French, but you say Kiev, no?
It is Kiev, yes.
Kiev.
Yes, it is.
And so you live in Kiev, and just before we started this conversation, you had to go to protect yourself because it was an alarm. You are art student?
No, I'm not a student. Really, I'm rather an old lady to be a student, honestly. Yeah, so
you are a visual artist.
Yes, I'm a visual artist and I'm a graphic designer, and actually I've been working mostly as a graphic designer and independent art director for the last probably 4 to 5 years. Yeah, so this is what I do.
Perhaps, well, we are not going to repeat what we can read here from newspapers, international newspapers. Perhaps, can you tell some words about what is the artistic community in Kiev, and now how is acting this artistic community?
It's hard to say because I think the main question is survival, as you may guess. But some people are more or less active. They continue to make some, I don't know, posters. You can see them really a lot. And also there's this moment that some artists, especially if they are mothers with kids, they really need to get to safety. So there are some offers from different residencies who offer them to come.
Okay, so
yes.
they use in a way the art to community and solidarity.
Sorry, I didn't quite get.
They use what they art to for well, general community and solidarity with people, as you say, with mothers, with the people.
Maybe yes. Yeah.
But before this war, can we say that Kiev was and still is a very active cultural place?
Yeah, of course, it's the big city, one of the biggest, and there was always an influx of creatives from, I don't know, from really many countries, which remained. I don't know if all the readers, the listeners, still remember that the war actually started in 2014.
Yes.
Yes, after the invasion to Crimea and Donbass. So it's really surprising how the cultural community got even more active after that, and Ukraine, like despite all the things that happened in 2014, they were really tragic, and it continues to be. Like Ukraine was in the spotlight for a moment, and a lot of people from different countries, including European ones and USA, they came to Kiev to work here, to make creative businesses here. So yes, it's a really very active community, and honestly, before everything started, I was thinking myself to write a book of memoirs connected to with the like art. How is it translated? It's like society, but more in a slang way. You say it. How is it?
How do you say say it in Ukrainian?
No, I don't want to. I don't want to elaborate. Uh, yeah, but I just was really going to make a book of memories about informal art. Yeah, and some workshops and clubs, because at some point it was I don't know, maybe almost like a Warhol's factory in terms of the activity of what was going around.
Does it mean that since 2014, perhaps two questions. Since 2014, in your case, for example, there was this kind of danger, but did you imagine you would be really confronted one day to what's happening now?
Yeah, of course.
Yes.
I must say that I was confronting that this might happen. This might absolutely happen one day. Not even since 2014, but honestly, since the war in Syria started.
Okay.
Because when I saw that it was happening there, my first thought was that we could absolutely be the next.
Okay.
And it would be the possible outcome. I was just trying not to think about it all the time, but it was pretty obvious.
It's very interesting you said that, because I should say in France, or more generally in Europe, Western Europe, I think we were very, we didn't really want to see what was happening in Syria. We knew since Amnesty International, since from different NGO, but in fact, we didn't want to and even when the Syrian refugees arrived here, they were not really hosted. And we don't want to hear what they had to say.
Yes, and I guess that whole Syria situation, it is absolutely outrageous. And seeing a lot of support from Syrians in Twitter towards the war in Ukraine, I think that in some meaning we are possibly on the same page. So it's
very interesting to hear from you. Then, in your case, from Kiev, since then you were more than informed. You were conscious that this danger will arrive.
Yes, I think it is just coming from living in the place what Ukraine is. I might give you a little bit of context. When I was a little kid, there was a war in Abkhazia, where my parents liked to travel and where they had friends. And then there was the First and Second Chechen War. There was Balkan War, which got really a lot of coverage. And most part of my childhood, whenever we turned off the news, there were reports of Chechen War and Balkan War, and there was always a feeling that war is somewhere very near, because it was near in territorial terms, and it had a very tangible impact, because during the Balkan War, the pharmaceutical factory where my mother heart's medications were produced was bombed. And so it had an effect on us. And also there were always people around. At some point, there was always somebody near who escaped from the war, because there are people in Ukraine with Afghani roots, with Iraq roots. There were people from Armenia, from Abkhazia, from
and we can see also now then not only refugees, but for example, we didn't know at all until now that in Ukraine there were many students from everywhere.
Yes, not only students, but like yes, people who came to work. There is like in Ukraine, there's really a lot of second generation people with roots from. I know personally people whose parents are from Afghanistan or from Iraq.
Irina, for today, perhaps 2 or 3 questions more, no more, yeah. Because I know it's difficult for you to share this time, and thank you very much. As you were saying, this consciousness of possible war or conflict, do you think it changed it from Syria, from this time? Did it change something in your way to how to say, to consider what you will do with art? Did it influence something?
It's hard to say. Do you mean like, did my art become more political or what?
I don't know in which sense. I had the feeling from what you were telling that it gave you some orientation. I don't know if it's political or something else, but I had this feeling just hearing you.
Yeah, I think it's. The thing is, I'm really not a fan of art with like very simple political messages. And I'm absolutely not a fan of what's called art of peace building. Like, yes. It's very popular in a lot of first world countries, especially in Germany, for some reason that like we make it work. We'll make a workshop for artists from Armenia, Azerbaijan, Ukraine, and Russia, and they will become friends and come back to their countries, and everything there will just magically be okay. No, it won't. Yeah, so
you don't want to be a propaganda artist, whatever is the purpose of propaganda.
It's I don't know, it's not exactly propaganda, but I think that there is in the countries that haven't witnessed war for really a long time, I think there's some degree of that naivete. Like art can change things when they get really bad, and they can't be changed like just by like talking. And actually in 2014, honestly, I was very traumatized. I didn't make a lot of art. I was mostly into activism. I volunteered as a translator. I volunteered a lot. I got burnout. I didn't feel well. I got some degree of depression afterwards. And the last 2 years, the main project that I was working on was actually a comic book.
Okay.
A fantasy comic book, very, very escapist, very, I thought, very having nothing to do with our reality. But in retrospect, now I think that it is very connected to some core personal experience that I have, because I wasn't thinking about it deliberately, but it somehow got like that when I analyzed it, that there is like it is all happening in the fantasy world, but there are a lot of refugees. There is a main protagonist who has PTSD, but I wasn't. It just as a story, it just worked itself out like that. I don't know why, and I think it may have something to do with I don't know, maybe almost unconscious experience, something like that.
Irina, I have a very personal question for you. Here, in some theaters or cultural or art centers, say, okay, they agree to host Ukrainian artist refugees. In your case, we are speaking today. Perhaps it can change tomorrow or in 1 week. But do you have any desire to go to France or anywhere else in Europe, or do you want to stay in Kiev and to resist with your people?
Actually, I'm not living so far. This is my home, and of course, I don't know how things might turn in the future, but I'm planning to stay here and to do what I can. And I think actually that all this thing that is happening now with residences, of course, most of them are offering just some short-term support, and this is understandable. But then I think if the situation stays bad, we won't be really welcome as refugees, because refugees are mostly never welcome. And this is really a very, very bad and very unfair situation, because people just get labeled with this word refugee like they are nothing else.
Last question, Irina. Thank you for your to be so true. Last question, and please speak freely. I don't have any doubt you will do it. But as I told you, I'm chief editor of a French website. What do you expect, if you expect something? What do you expect from us? I don't know at all what is this us, but what do you eventually expect from, I don't know, from France, from French artists, or do you expect something? Do you need something?
Yes, I expect. The very realistic thing that I expect is cutting cultural ties with Russia, and cutting cultural ties with Russia,
Okay.
with Russian artists and Russian institutions, because they are a part of Russian imperialism that actually let this happen. And the whole myth of great Russian culture was used as a smokescreen to hide all the atrocities that they had been perpetrating in Ukraine, in Chechnya, in Georgia, and elsewhere.
But do you know it's happening yet? It's like everybody, every institution cut everything with Russian institutions or artists who support in any way Putin. For my part, I think we have also to support, because in some other way they are courageous too, the few Russian artists or scientists or writers or intellectuals who protest in Russia against war.
I think if they are in dire danger and they need to apply for emergency shelter, then yes. Otherwise, no, because you can always say that you don't support this, but unless you do something against it, then you are aiding and abetting, I'd say.
But you know, for example, the 2 or 3 Russian artists who were supposed to go to participate to the Venice Biennale,
Yes.
decided to cancel and not to go. They decided. It was not the Biennale to say.
That's nice of them, but it's just it's a gesture. It's like the baseline thing.
Okay.
It's a baseline thing they can do. I don't think it's really much of a resistance.
It's not enough. You need more.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Thank you, Irina.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. Thank you.